Hey everybody, welcome back out to the National Players Club Garage Pod.
Rush Pod!
And the wheels aren't even turning yet. So sitting here with Aaron Kilgore of East Coast Meat Puppets, Kevin Riley of the Emerald City Lanterns. We got Gordo of Gordo Mania. And
my Giants in the house.
Yeah. Myself, Clint Davis of Total Chaos. We've also got the head coaches of the Annihilators and the Naughty Gnomes joining us tonight, Christine and
They'll be off camera offering witty criticism and
constantly
banter.
And
they're running poker tables right now.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a little Gingham style dance in there for you.
Oh, that's right. We had Gingham style dance.
Yeah.
That was when we lost the
audio.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that was for the hearing impaired for all of you that can actually read lips in Alaska.
in Alaska. Always got to go to
Alaska
Alaska.
breeders.
Alaska's still with us?
Actually, I don't think they've been watching here lately.
We'll keep throwing
Damn you, Alaska.
Yeah,
they actually show back up when they get their props. We're locked in.
They'll be like, they still remember us.
Salute. Little sex band.
Sex man there.
To my great season so far.
And my
victory. I'm enjoying it because last year was just rough.
Man, me, I didn't even do anything. He's far over here.
Speaking of rough, let us start with your bunkmate. What do you think?
Oh, you mean my wife?
Your wife.
That was just...
Oh, that was... I still hold out hope for her. I mean, you know, she's, other than her one win against me last week, or a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Man, Trudy, I wish we could find some magic dust or something for you to get them.
And what's bad is, I mean, all her players are all predominant players. It's just they don't show up all at once. One week she's got Jamal, one week she's got Ben, one week she's got Matt, one week she's got Calvin.
Last week she had nobody.
And now this week she had, especially tight end.
Speaking of last week.
Although she did leave 21 points on her bench last week.
She did, but it was Lions defense.
Yeah, unexpected against the Bears. Seriously? The Bears.
I mean, it's not like the Titans were that much better, and I don't know that actually that wasn't even going to be the deciding factor in the game. There's really nothing to speak of on her end. She's sitting in the 6th spot. DK was sitting in the... Where do I have DK? Sitting in the 6th spot now. She's sitting in the 6th spot now. John always gets tied up with John. See, I think he's in 5th, actually.
Actually, yeah, I think he is in 5th.
He's actually in 5th. He's in 3 and 4, yeah, because John's at 1 and 6 as well as your woman. And I show you, DK left points on the board. He should have gotten Crabtree out of this lineup. It was an early game, which might everyone needs to watch for those Thursday matchups. Because he definitely needed to get him in the week before because of the buys. They needed to get him back out of his lineup pretty quickly because he lost basically 15 points. Now, Luck and Freeman were basically a coin flip going into the game.
Yeah.
Like that 15-15 split. Freeman just blew up. And I heard about it all day long. Because he's like, yeah, my opinion. I was all like,
I think we covered that last week. As a matter of fact, Debo, I think I said, Josh Freeman, you needed to start him. And I think going forward, I mean, I think he's your starting quarterback for the rest of the year, honestly. Forget matchup. I mean, they're still trying to – Andrew Luck's still trying to figure out –
because last week it was all about the matchup.
Yeah, Andrew Luck is still trying to figure out what's going on in Indianapolis. You know, Indianapolis is still trying to figure out what's going on.
2 weeks ago, though, he blew up, though. Threw like 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. I had Reggie Wayne who put up 43 points because of Andrew Luck.
So I think Luck knows what's going on. He just doesn't know when it's going on.
And I think that's a future quarterback option to take a look at Gordo's quarterback situations. We'll do that for next week.
Smith could have helped him out. You know, Darius Hayward-Bay is back in the picture. I mean, even Chubb was their quarterback on some points on the bench, but short of that, there really wasn't anything to speak of.
Oh, the defense did. The Vikings defense. My Vikings defense blew it up.
Yeah, well, that's one of the defenses. I mean, we all looked at on draft day. Gordo grabbed the Jets. He grabbed 2 of the arguably most powerful defenses out there, who now one is almost like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Because of all the
injuries. They get one guy back, lose 2. I mean, that's just sad.
But Vikings have been, I mean, consistently strong and fantasy relevant. And they've been able to basically just plug them in and just leave them there. It's the one thing he doesn't really have to pay attention to.
Exactly.
Because they're a big play defense and they have been before.
Absolutely.
Moving on. We've got Annihilators and East Coast Meat Puppets.
The 1-point mishap. What was that?
I think that's our first 1 point game. Actually, and
No, I
I
think
was,
there was one earlier this season.
I lost to John on Monday night, but it came down to one play. And I needed like 2 points.
Yeah,
and honestly, Christine had no points to put to swing that. I mean, the only her kicker was what it boiled down to because everybody else was on a bye. And you had Sebastian Janikowski putting up 16 points, and on her bench, Shane Graham put up 12 points. So I mean, that would have been 4 points swing the other way for her. So.
And here's the thing, and actually it was a lot uglier than it shows on paper because her 2 most relevant players were her kicker and her tight end at 16 and 18 points.
Yeah, 23 points.
And these are 2 players you're looking at. Usually, if you can get, if you get double digits period, you get 10 points out of them. It's a stellar game for you. You look at between 6 and 9 points out of those players. So to get those, so I mean, yeah, Manning hurt her. Her buys hurt her. I put Cutler in. I was forced to. It was my 1 week that I wasn't going to have, Natty Ice in there, and leaves the game, comes back. It was pretty much a bogus game from beginning to end, 13-0 on the Monday night game. But I'll take it. It wasn't pretty, but it was a.
It is a W.
It was a W.
Who says it best? Jason Garrett? A win is a win.
A win is a win. Alfred Morris again got me 16 points on my bench. I could have had him in the starting lineup, but they had Ridley at such a good matchup against the Jets.
Yeah.
I had to plug him in.
You could have flexed out him for Trent Richardson.
Yeah, but Trent Richardson was also lined up. Even though banged up, he was lined up for a stellar matchup.
Yeah.
Both him and Ridley were lined up for huge
that was
games.
the way it was for Trudy's tight end from San Francisco. I mean,
Vernon Davis. Yeah.
Vernon Davis. They had a stellar matchup, and he was no factor in the game. So she got 0 points out of him for that entire 60 minutes.
And you're talking about a tight end. I mean, one of the elite tight ends in football and in fantasy who consistently puts up points.
Well, I mean, you started off the season, and not only were some of the tight ends that were drafted, your Gronkowski's, your Hernandez's, your Owens from New Orleans, all these players were blowing up. But in addition to all of those, you had all these secondary tight ends that were in the
Graham.
sorry, that were in the player pool from from Pitta to
Pitta was scheduled to be
Pittsburgh's
Heath
Heath
Miller.
Miller.
No,
You had all
he's
these
not with
tight
Houston anymore. He's in
No.
Seattle.
Heath Miller.
Pittsburgh.
from Pittsburgh.
Nah, that's somebody else.
But anyways, you had this basically block of tight ends that were all in the player pool. They were all blowing up, and they've all getting dispersed on a number of teams now. And now all of a sudden, it looks like the tight ends are starting to make a shift, and you're really not getting these mad points
No,
on them anymore.
they're-
There's
They're spending more
hurt,
time as an
Hernandez was
offensive
hurt.
line.
I mean, other than your key like elite tight ends, Gronk, consistent. He's got a couple of off games.
Your elite tight ends. Your
My
elite tight end.
Yes.
But even he's not crushing it.
He's not crushing it like last year, but he's still,
It's like-
consistently double digit other than like 1 or 2 games. But that's, the Patriots not showing up those games.
Gotta get in there, Gordo.
And-
Elbow
The quiet
Aaron.
giant. All he's got to do is jump in.
Elbow Aaron.
Yeah.
He shocks up.
I've been
Jason
told
Witten's
myself-
another example for those tight ends.
Yeah, Jason Witten started off as one of the great tight ends. And he was consistent,
5 years
big 3 years ago. Because last year he didn't do it with getting hurt, and then this year, after trying to come back from an injury, he just really hasn't shown up. They've used him more as a blocker than anything.
That's
trust
because
me,
that
I know.
offensive line is in shambles.
Shambles is an understatement.
Moving
Moving
on.
on.
We've got 2 pump chumps and the burn.
That was you got burned. Burned. Where was Mr.
Can we get a wave for the 2 pump chumps? 3 game slide.
Yeah. Mr. I'm going all the way.
On the mighty
I'm going to
ball,
own
yeah.
this. Oh, he moves into we switch the divisions up. And he's like, oh, I so own you. We've got this. I've got this.
You know the
I'm
upside,
in first.
the upside of this 3 game slide is the fact that my phone battery has longer life on Sunday than it has.
Because you don't want to hear it.
Exactly.
We should constantly call him. Hey, what happened? What
Honestly,
happened?
honestly, I think I've heard from him twice this year when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah, I've heard from him a few times. Last year, I mean, it was kind of, if he couldn't get a hold of you, he was calling me. If he couldn't get a hold of me, he called Trudy. He actually called Trudy and started talking to her. Hey, is your husband around?
Well, he's actually gotten to a point where when he's crushing it, it's just a blanket text message. Because if you look at the top,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like name, and then the top.
Oh,
is
yeah.
like name, and then the text. And
it's just ugly.
But anyway, no, this
I do have something that I do need to pass along to Brandon.
So sad.
He's sitting at 3 and 4 in the 5th spot in the South.
Still in contention though. Still, I mean, because the South is
and
still.
the South is pretty much anyone's game. You know, Trudy is in a must-win situation. You're at mid-game or mid-season position at week 8, 13 weeks of the regular season. She needs to make a turnaround here pretty quickly. But he's going up against the Burn, and we talked about this first couple weeks of the season. The marquee quarterbacks were all drafted real high. We're producing your Brady's, your Breeze, your Rodgers. And then after, say, about week 3, then they all started rounding it up. And Rodgers right now is just on fire. He's out of control. So
I like everything they're saying on ESPN about it right now. He's mad. He goes into the game mad. He's got a straight face. There's no joking. There's no smile, and that's the difference.
And 3 weeks ago, they were going, "What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers?
What's wrong?"
And he's all like, "It's like we're winning a game. I don't know what you mean, what's wrong?" He's like, I'm not putting up 400 yards and 6 touchdowns a game."
Which he turned around and then did.
He did, and he's done back-to-back weeks. 31 points, and Vincent Jackson, for the second week in a row, has been lighting up for her. 37 points.
Yeah.
I mean, she had Lance Morford bench 24. She could plug him in, versus AJ Green. But I mean, how are you gonna start him over AJ Green? Or some of the other marquee players that she's already had in her lineup. So we about halfway point. We need to take a break here.
About 3 minutes.
Oh,
Hey, we get one more. Get one more.
Okay, we got one more. All right, Bernie's in first place at 5-2. Meat Puppets, Two Pump Chumps are in the 5th spot at 3.
Was it 5?
Yeah, no, he's at the 5th spot.
Sorry, I had something caught in my throat.
Total Chaos and Naughty Gnomes. Naughty Gnomes.
I actually went into. I was a little concerned going into this game.
As
You
you
were
were.
as a powerhouse that she's been putting up points. I was like, probably
Hawkins didn't show up. Most of her players got double-digit points, but it's just no one had a breakout game. Victor Cruz crushed it
You
again
even have
for
to
you.
talk about Chris. I don't want to talk about Chris.
Well, and here's the
Really
thing,
don't
though,
want to talk about
because
Chris.
you're in a relatively high position in your division, first place,
First place.
and Gordo, point-wise, is also in a relatively high position, as far as points, in kind of like in a battle there in the mid spot. Both of which don't really have a quarterback or a stellar quarterback to speak of, and are still, have the other players that are actually just it's good matchups,
Wide
winning the games
receivers,
that you need
running
to win.
backs, tight ends showing up, defenses making the.
So, and 136, and here's the thing, I think it's actually come down to, are we back-to-back weeks? Is Chris Johnson finally going to make it in your lineup this week?
There he is. He is. I put him in.
What was it, 36, 37 points? Oh, sorry, 76, 77 points, something like that in the last 2 games.
Yeah. He put up 40-something points last
And
week.
you realize in the next week we're going to be talking about this, we're like, Chris Johnson's back to 2? All right, well, I think we're almost out of time for our first cutoff segment, right?
Well, I mean, we actually a minute.
All right, well, let's discuss your defense then at 28 points. Your Ravens, honestly, are they benchable now?
They're very benchable. They've lost Ray Lewis. Ed Reed is hurt. They just got back Suggs. They just got back Suggs. I mean, and then with losing Lewis, they lost one of their key position players.
Well, not only the fact that he's in on every play, and it's his years in the game and his
torn
captain
tricep
and experience that's back there and can
And that could be a career-ending injury.
He's your quarterback on defense.
Yeah.
On that side of the field.
Now, see, the great thing, though, is having Texas and this J.J. Watt kid stepping up. Kid is a beast. If he can't sack the quarterback, he's blocking the ball. I mean, he's got more bats batted down per game than most defensive linemen have reached in a season.
Do you think I think they're even tradable? Do you think you can get in for them?
Probably not. But
not so much. I mean, it's maybe kicker or something. If you want to upgrade a kicker and want to unload them or something.
But you could probably use a kicker.
Matt Prater, I mean, with Eli throwing, if they're not at the end of or if they're not in the end zone, they're close enough for him to kick. Peyton. Sorry.
And what did Prater get you last week?
He was on a bye.
Oh, he's on a bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's on a bye.
You
And I
never
still
had
won.
a pick? Oh, you
I
don't
did not.
know, and you couldn't pick. Oh, and not to mention, I haven't switched it on the webpage yet, but Clinton's page, so open to trades and to.
I am open to
acquisitions
trades, and
Oh yeah, and I will be paid next week.
Hey, I went and did a fence and took a beating to get my money in. Literally took a beating. So.
Well. All right.
Well, we actually just passed the mark, just by a few seconds. So stick around. We'll be back with the rest of last week's matchups. We'll probably get into a little more BS and fluff it.
Love it.
He's the fluffer.
Saying to this girl, he's like, oh shit,
We're back.
Yeah. Damn it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the National Players Club Garage Pod. We're going to finish up
Garage Pod.
Good pod. We're going to finish up last week's matchups with Quiet Giant sitting over here still being quiet. He made it through an entire first half of the episode without saying a word.
That was a Garage Pod South and Braille.
GP. So, we got, what, two matchups left?
And we'll see Leonard's.
There we go.
Why not go to this one? Why? Because it's helped you guys out in the north. You're welcome.
Hey, I've been taking out the South. Really? I can't. I got manhandled in the
North.
North.
Me yet. Yeah.
Whatever.
One game.
What? Two. I'm on a winning streak.
From the peanut gallery.
Only two streaks.
So we got Emerald City Lanterns against Rotor Rash, which was huge. I mean, Mike's been.
He's been tearing it down in the north. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. Mike's been winning, and it's been good matchups. Now, granted, I'm not going to try and take anything from him, but this is something we addressed on our Soundproof podcast.
Yeah.
The fact that he actually was sitting in first place at that time. Now he's down to second because Bernie took over the first place spot. But he was sitting in first place with less points than John, who was sitting in second to last.
Yeah.
So it's one of those that if he gets a couple of losses in there, it's going to go.
He's going to go way down.
So, but here's the thing. Yeah, good win. Mad props. AP showed up for you again. He's actually been, solid, especially for where you had to draft him at.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a great spot to pick him up in. So.
Call back to you. And, Gronkowski performed like the tight end he was last week.
2 touchdowns, 78 yards. I mean, great performance.
Yeah. Well, it was a shootout. I mean, that game was just, don't even get me started because we won, but I'm still pissed about the fact that, we actually had to come down to that in our house.
Overtime field goal.
Yeah, it was ugly. But yeah, Strong showed up for you. He looks good. I mean,
You know what? I'll tell you this. Whenever your defense nailed Sanchez and the ball came loose and you guys jumped on it, I was jumping up. Aaron's not going to be mad!
Well, it started off the game. We were got over there, and all of a sudden, the first time, I'm looking at the TV. I'm like, oh, that's my defensive player. Oh God, he's running. Go. And I'm which I needed every piece of that defensive win because I had my quarterback on a bye, and that actually, gave me my 1 point
Kind
win.
of balanced out your quarterback.
Griffin put up 23 points. Sean Green, 20 points.
Showing up.
Second week in a row. Where would you put, moving forward for the rest of the year, do you put Sean Green in the top 10?
He is the only producing player in that team. Hands down.
Okay, but that doesn't answer my question. As a starting running back, moving forward for the rest of the year, is he a top 10 running back?
I would say yes. Again, just like I said, he is the top producing player in the bad Jets team, who's in disarray. I mean, the defense is in shambles. Terrible quarterback. They got, quarterback controversy going on. I mean, I would love to be in New York right now to hear the phone calls that are going in all the sports talk stations. Put Tebow in. Let's do something with Tebow. I would love to hear that. And they're even talking about making Tebow a running back.
Yeah.
Well, he is a big enough boy. He could probably do it.
Well, no, and then I think there was even some issues with our particular website. They were following up and trying to find out if he was going to be, if he went in the lineup as a running back, if they were going to adjust him to running back situation to where it would adjust flex position. They already said no, so that's been squashed.
But can you
My thing
imagine
with him
that
is
with
that
him lining up back there as a running back? I mean, that is an ultimate wildcat because you got a guy that can.
No, because he weighs less than I do. Okay, doesn't weigh less than I do. But I mean, point being is you're going to take smash mouth football as a running back. He's not going to line up as a running back. As a flex option, as a quarterback out there, or as a wide receiver they pitch it to and can throw it, yes, maybe. But as an every down back or let him line up there in a 2-back set or something like that, they'll kill it.
Yeah,
he's not equipped.
Especially if they go up against one of the top end
hits
defenses that crush
Yeah,
it around.
absolutely not.
I'm just saying,
Top 10 running back moving forward?
I don't think so.
No.
Top 15?
Yeah, I think the top 15. I would probably top 10.
I'd put him biting at the cuff of the top 20.
You see him, Willis McGill.
I say I'm going to put him somewhere between 15 and 20 because you still got to keep in mind that you've got, I mean, Trent Lynch right now is banged up, but you've got, well, we'll start with mine, Richardson, Foster, Alfred Morris,
Jamal Charles is
Stephen
making a
Ridley.
showing.
You've got Ray Rice, Jamal Charles,
AP.
AP. Okay, now you're talking about Sean Green possibly being in the top 10. We're down to 8 right now.
Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson.
I don't know about Chris.
I would put just outside the top 10 just because we've only seen it 2 weeks ago. But the thing is, if you put that, regardless of matchup, regardless of whatever else is going on with the team, just player by player, he doesn't match up with the likes of Chris Johnson or Marshawn Lynch or some of these other players right now. I mean, granted, he gets the rock. Matt Forte, Darren McFadden. We're down to 10, and we're not even tapped.
Again,
We're
because
over
of
10.
how bad that team is in New
MJD
York,
before he got hurt.
that is their only
Two of
option.
your running backs in New England are probably doing better points than he is. I mean, just
I
because
don't know. I don't think so.
That'd be a toss-up.
Yeah, it's like I said, how
You
bad
could take any one of the. Well, no, I can't do
how bad that team is in New York. I mean, he is their only offensive option.
He was non-existent up till 2 weeks ago. Non-existent.
Yeah.
Wasn't even.
and we're going into week 8, so I
Marshawn
mean,
Lynch, he might
So
be
I mean, he has had some good games, and they may lean on him now because they almost have to. But I still say, I think he's
With Santonio Holmes
he's
out,
easily out of the top 15. Might be might be out of the top 20.
Yeah.
But all right, Road Rash, Sean Green produced for him. You'll probably keep him in there. Kyle Rudolph had a bye. He had. I don't know.
he played just. didn't
Oh,
show
play
up.
got a goose egg?
Yeah,
Okay.
goose egg.
And he's actually, we'll talk about that here shortly because he's going up in tomorrow's game.
Yeah.
Fred Jackson left him on his bench. 25 points.
That wouldn't have helped, Mike.
Okay, but here's the other question. Going short of what we already know, going into last week's matchup, Fred Jackson or Des Bryant?
I think is how bad Dallas' offense is. And keep in mind, I'll throw this back there. I said Dallas has a chance of making the playoffs.
In a PPR league.
But Dallas's offense is just terrible. Their offensive line is terrible. Terrible. I mean, it is.
What about Austin did?
18 points?
18 points.
But they're shutting down Dez. You know,
They don't have to shut down Dez. He got thrown to 5 times, and out of the first 5 throws, he caught none of them.
Right.
He's not finishing his routes. He's not communicating with his quarterback. When he's supposed to be going left, he's going right. And Romo's been literally riding him about it.
Again, how bad is that offense?
But
And it's more offensive
my
line.
point was this: with the banged up backfield in Buffalo, you can't fault him for not putting Fred Jackson in over the likes of the number 1 wide receiver for Dallas in a PPR. I mean,
Actually, Miles Austin is leading it right now.
well, yeah, no, he is. I mean, up a points, but I mean, technically, they're number 1 wide
Yeah,
receiver.
they're
as well.
starting. Number 1.
And he still is yet to live up to his expectations
No,
year
yeah.
after year, and it's just, I mean, it's.
And I traded him off.
You got you're sitting at the 3 spot. Road Rash has now been bumped down to 2, basically a tie for first at 5-2. He's got Nilers next week. You've got the Burn next week. Well, I mean, we'll address that.
Tough
Coming
matchup.
up, yeah, you got your hands full. You're at 4-3. He's in 5-2. You appreciate the loss. Want to jump on the next one?
Yeah, sure. Let's go from
All
there.
right, let's do it.
We got
our
Last
last
but
one,
not
actually?
least, we've got the Kawhi Giant, Gordo Mania.
Hey, there's not even power behind. He's like, yeah.
Well,
let's say,
I understand that. Yeah, it was one
since we have Gordo here,
Yeah.
since we have him here, let's
Give
go
us-
back to what is it, week 2, week 3, your matchup with
Go Gordo.
Brandon. You know, Chumpalumpa.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the fancy fluff, but yeah, let's
Let's get it now.
Yeah,
Let's get it
let's
now.
do it now.
It was a sweet one.
And how much shit did he talk to you going into that game?
Oh, quite a bit. Quite a bit. But,
Wasn't that his record game? The 190 points.
This was
You're gonna have to,
yeah.
Gordo, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit. So
no, I put up
Thank you.
194 the next week.
Oh, okay.
Against, well, actually against Christine.
Was that Christine? Was 2 weeks ago, and actually, you know, what, I actually figured out what it was. We didn't lose audio. It was in respect of the Quiet Giant. We just chose not
Quiet,
to use
yes.
any volume that day.
Turned it on.
194. I actually went back and did the math today. They had all kinds of stats written down. The
If somebody wants that,
you broke the record. I knew you had it. I just didn't know who you broke it on, and you broke it off on me.
Yeah.
You put up 194. I put up 186 in 2006 when I used the Boondock Saints to
Yeah.
go on and win the Super Bowl.
And we
Right
were
behind
doing-
me
yeah.
in second spot was Erica at 180, who that year she went on to the Super Bowl to play Brandon. Now, although she lost, well, I was saying as far as like a jumping off point, 194 in a game, not a bad place to be when you start stacking those points up when you get into those tiebreakers come down to playoffs.
and it's honestly in the South. You know, we've looked at this game last week. Gordo is actually he's in second place, but he's top in points. Yeah. So
Oh, one other thing, since we're on that same topic, when I was went back and looked at those stats, Last year? or that week, you and Mike were sitting in first place. Last year, this same week, he and Mike bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
Almost winless. I think you may have been winless, and he may have.
Yeah, I was winless because Trudy got me that week and got the first
actually,
win.
last year I think I was in first place because I cleaned out.
Right, but I'm saying they went worse than first.
Right.
Is what I was the one point I was trying to make. And just to throw it out there, as far as we're going, the mad high, the mad low was Mike in 2006 when I got my record high.
20-something points.
22 points.
Wow.
22 points.
Deuce.
That's pretty low.
The four of us can I grab all at once and we can fall down and get more than 20.
All right, so
All
we
right.
got, what do we got coming up? We got Thursday night's game.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
Minnesota.
some fantasy relevance in tomorrow night's game. Everyone, I mean, you know, we dress every week. Make sure you check your lineups. Well, if you're checking this, you should be checking the lineups because you're on the website, unless you're just doing it via YouTube. But we got a lot of players actually for the team going in.
Yeah.
We've got Tampa Bay, or rather, excuse me, Minnesota hosting Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
We say that they are a 7.5 point spread as far as the Vegas line. They're normally going to give you 3 just for home field advantage. So I mean, 4.5 points is still. I mean, it's not overwhelming, but it's still decent.
Also, go ahead.
Well, Devin's already got Minnesota's lineup. Like I said, we talked about this earlier. He's been camping on them. They're just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
We don't expect him to move them. Obviously, your boy, AP, Purple People Eater, will be in your lineup. Christine Percy Harvin, I think she's already got him in. Kyle Rudolph, Mike. Did we say he's starting him?
Yeah, it's his only tight end, so unless he picks somebody else. So.
And right now, he said there's a couple bodies out there, but it's one of those. We talked about this earlier. With the tight ends that were all, kind of mid-level tight ends that were producing.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of a crapshoot. It's literally a coin flip each week, where all of a sudden, Pitta puts up 3 touchdowns and 60 yards, or someone else that's out there floating out. Because a lot of them that were kind of the top of that next cusp haven't been producing as well. Miller from Pittsburgh has had a bit of a slump. A number of them. Flip side of that, Tampa Bay, you got Josh Freeman.
Tough matchup for Minnesota.
DK's got him.
Right now, he's feeling luck.
And I think it's like we talked about earlier, that's going to be a quarterback option. If you look at, Freeman versus Luck, And I said last week, I think Freeman may be his horse to go with for the rest of the season.
Possibility. And here's the other question. Now, I know my own take on this, and every year everyone's brought this up. Big thing, do you start your quarterback against your defense?
Yes.
Clip?
I don't think so.
I would.
I will say yes for this reason. I'll give you real quick, because if your defense is doing their job, they're going to put up points. If your quarterback is doing their job, they're going to put up points. I'm in another league, and I was in that situation a couple weeks ago where I had to start my quarterback against my defense. I did it and it worked out fine. I got a win. So
I'll agree with you on this point. You start the best player that you have available, whether they basically are playing each other or not. If they're some of the best players in their respective positions, you start them. The only thing I would say is that Minnesota has been a pretty stout defense, and I think Luck might have a better option going into the next week. VJ, obviously the burner, is going to light it up for. He's a foregone conclusion. Martin for B, via Sketch not in, and buys, and a multitude of other things. I think he almost has to have him in there.
Yeah.
So get your lineup set.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, tomorrow. Get into a real London game this Monday.
Monday?
We got London game.
Lundy.
We got whoop
And the wheels on the bus just keep falling off.
And we'll be back in a couple minutes because Clint's got to fluff some stuff. So we'll see what happens after that.
Not the fluff.
We're not
This is the fluff.
People